Hey guys, Ian Lawler here. So I asked you last week to get some content, some feedback on what you guys would like to see, and I've had 3 people since the last episode ask me about nutrition, diet, stuff like that. So basically today, it's a deload week for me, so nothing special going on. And I didn't figure you guys would get any benefit out of watching me not train. So we want to cover. I'm just going to cover some supplements I use and how I eat throughout the day. It might benefit you. It might not. You might be able to take 1 or 2 things out that I have or that I use or the way I stack my programming, and it might help you out. Hopefully, you guys get some amount of benefit out of this. All right, so let's talk about the supplements that I like to use. This right here is from XWorks. It's called Motion. I absolutely love this stuff. For a long time, well over a little over a year ago, I started intermittent fasting, and I basically wouldn't eat until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I do the majority of my training in the morning. And as my ability level went up, my strength numbers went up, I started getting back to working engine work a lot more in preparation for the beach brawl, and now we're getting ready. Me and my coach are getting ready for the Open. I started noticing I was having a really hard time making it through training without having food prior to. So I discontinued that probably, I think this is my 3rd week now, 3rd or 4th week without intermittent fasting. So I get up at 8 a.m. every morning, whether I want to or not. And I know most of you guys are like, well, I sleep in, or I get up way earlier than that. Well, I work till 10 o'clock at night most of the time. So, if not later. So I'm a second shifter. It works well for me. So I get up in the morning, 8 o'clock. By 8:30, I'm sitting at my table, reading my Bible, eating my cereal for the morning. Now, when I say cereal, I don't necessarily mean like Kellogg's Fruity Pebbles. I'll get some type of organic, whole grain, whole wheat type cereal, or some oats, some steel cut oats. I really like the steel cut oats. Instant oats are better if you're going to be training within 30 minutes after eating. But if you have time to take a full hour before digestion, steel cut oats sit on my stomach a lot better. But then from there, we go into Motion. I take 2 scoops of this and I just sip on it while I'm training, mostly while I'm doing the strength stuff. That way it's in my system by the time an hour and a half deep into training, and I'm needing fuel for metabolic conditioning or aerobic capacity training or something along those lines. This is XWorks again, from the company XWorks, called Motion. 2 scoops for me is 50 grams of carbohydrates. And then the wonderful thing about this stuff is each scoop also has 3 grams of BCAAs. So it's phenomenal to help with recovery. BCAAs, if you don't know, are branched chain amino acids. It's what protein breaks down into your system so it can then be used for building blocks and the beginning of the recovery process. All right, another thing that I do every morning, so I'm still on my morning routine. Another thing I do every morning, I put 1 scoop of Nature's Plus collagen peptides in my coffee. I just started doing that probably about 6 months ago, not too terribly long. Most of you guys know, if you don't know, I'm getting ready to be 31. So I'm not a spring chicken for an athlete, and then I had just a boatload, whole freaking laundry list of injuries when I was younger that weren't my fault. It's just bad luck, and it is what it is. But my joints and stuff, they need extra help, and this collagen stuff is supposed to be, and again, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but it's supposed to be really, really good for helping the protein synthesis in your body, and its bioavailability is supposed to be very high for white tissue, which is where you get stiffness at, your joints, your tendons, your ligaments. So I think it's been helping me out quite a bit. So let's table that one. After I get done training, right? So during training, with my coffee, I drink coffee every morning. I highly recommend you do too, as long as it's a clean coffee. Coffee is some of the most chemically treated products on the market. Most of it, even the ones that taste good, is absolutely terrible for your system because of all the crap that's in it. I use Melaleuca coffee. If you're interested in being a Melaleuca member, let me know, because I'm a Melaleuca rep, or or whatever they call it. I don't want to call it a sales rep, but because it's more of like a family type community that the company works for. But they have everything from food and soap and bath products to all the way to anything you think of for cleaning, eating, supplementation, yada yada. And I love their coffee. Caffeine also helps greatly with processing carbohydrates and protein, so that you can. There's actually scientific proof, and Conor McGregor's coach was the one who shared this article, and I read it. So it was out of, I guess it was out of Ireland, but they were talking about how they time his training in conjunction with certain caffeine stimulants, because your body can actually intake superload, so to speak, more than what it actually needs to help with recovery. When you combine recovery agents with this protein, X, Y, good food, stuff like that, with caffeine. So that's into my morning routine. So we're past training now. As soon as I get done training, and I mean the moment, I'm like, have my head screwed back on straight, because usually my coach, awesome Coach Cedric, Polar Bear Programming, check them all out. Check out the YouTube channel, check out their Instagram, they're freaking amazing. But usually Coach saves the really hard metcons or stuff that takes me an hour and freaking literally 60 straight minutes to get done, or something along those lines, for the last event of the day. So for me, it's very important to, as soon as I get my head screwed back on straight and I'm not hypoxic anymore, to get some nutrients in. So the first thing I go to is I take 1 scoop of Zendurance protein. I really like vanilla since they got it. Their chocolate was garbage. I'm sorry, Zendurance. I've been buying your products for a long time. Absolutely love your company. Love the way they feel. But your all's chocolate blows your all's vanilla blows your chocolate out of the water. It's not even close. So I take 1 full scoop of that. That's 20 grams of protein, 4.2 grams of BCAAs, 1,200 milligrams of lactate, which is one of the body's more preferred energy sources. And then it also has vitamins and minerals, B6, B12, D, electrolytes. It's really, really good. And the one thing I love about it, and you can notice this. So if you have protein at home, why don't you go look at your scooper, right? This scooper is tiny, like itty bitty, half the size of like junk from like Optimum Nutrition, stuff like that. That's a good tell that your company's not putting additives or fillers into your protein, right? Because like junk like Optimum Nutrition, I mean seriously, it's probably 30% flour. That's not an exaggeration or like me just spitballing numbers. That's probably realistically what it is. Or if you can do math and you know what the caloric intake of each, so like for example, a gram of fat is 9 grams of protein, or excuse me, is a gram of fat is 9 calories. You go through the macro additives, add them all up and count the calories, and then look at, okay, well, this has got 22 grams of protein. Well, I'm gonna get on Google, I'm gonna see how many calories 1 gram of protein is, and then I'm going to equate that to how many calories are in the scoop. So then we got to look at what's left over. And this you got to be pretty serious into fitness and the want to do this kind of stuff. But with this, there's seriously, if I remember correctly, I did the math. I think there was only like 12 calories that weren't accounted for that could, in theory, be fillers. Right? That's astonishing. You will not find that in anything you can buy at like GNC or any of that garbage. This Zendurance products are specifically made by CrossFit and fitness athletes for CrossFit and fitness athletes. There's a big difference in an athlete and a bodybuilder. There's a big difference between an athlete and a strongman. There's a big difference between an athlete and a power lifter. Our goal as athletes is to be jacks of all trades, to be as amazing as we can possibly physically be at any endeavor, whether it's powerlifting, whether it's swimming, biking, running, Olympic lifting. There's a huge amount of discrepancy or holes in every other type of training's game. I'm sorry, but there is. That's just part of it. Okay, but anyway, 1 scoop of this, and 1 scoop of Vega Premium Protein. So this is a vegan plant-based protein, and while I am not vegan, the evidence suggests that vegan protein products or plant-based protein products are much, much higher in bioavailability for what we were talking about earlier when I was talking about collagen. That's much, much higher bioavailability to white tissue, so your tendons and your ligaments, which are the most common things that, you pull a muscle, you might have a few days where you're sore, uncomfortable, gotta get your foam roller out, get your lacrosse balls out, go that way. But at the end of all that, it's pretty well healthy. When you start pulling tendons, spraining joints, potential tears, things of that nature, now we're looking at needing a doctor to fix it. So it's very, very important to keep as much as much food in your system that's bioavailable, or has a high bioavailability, I should say, for white tissue. Okay, now my things that I don't necessarily use every day is right here. This is called Beet Elite. It's from a company called Human, Human, and then it's got a little red N next to the last N. But this is called Beet Elite. It's black cherry. I think that's one of the only flavors it comes in, which is really delicious. It's a nitric oxide superfood. So where I do anywhere between 2 and 3 hours, sometimes more, of training in the morning, and it's back to back to back to back evolutions, because I got to get it all done before I have to go to work in the evening. I know most people most professional athletes break have an AM and a PM session so that they can get re-energized, get some nutrients in their system, excuse me. I don't have the luxury of doing that. I still work a full-time job. I still run, my wife and I run our business. It gets a little hectic. But I find that this Beet Elite not only helps me phenomenally with cardio, because it's a natural vasodilator, right? It inflames the red blood cells so that they can hold more oxygen, more nutrients, and allow it to provide that to your system better. It also helps, I swear it feels like it's easier to breathe when I'm using this stuff. Not that it's just easier to move, but it's also easier to breathe and intake oxygen. Love it. It'll make your pee funny looking color though, so don't freak out when you're pissing rust into your freaking toilet, because that's just what it does. Go eat beets, it'll do the exact same thing. But love that stuff. Again, I only use that when I have to train in the evenings, which for me is Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. So 4 days a week I take this stuff. This is a must-have every day. It's a turmeric and bromelain compound. It's from Source Naturals. I get it at my local Nature's Best, but I'm sure you could order it online if you wanted to. There is 350 milligrams of turmeric root extract, which equals 333 milligrams of curcuminoids. So all you guys, and I've had this talk with my parents too, because they go to Walmart and they buy the cheap-ass garbage turmeric that's not even extract, it's powder. Well, first off, turmeric powder is not bioavailable at all. I think like 5% of it's bioavailable. And so that's part one. Part two of turmeric is if you're taking turmeric powder, it has to be cooked with. It's fat soluble. It has to be cooked with and heated up in food in order for your system to absorb what little nutrients it has. So when you're looking at your bottle, you need to make sure that it says turmeric extract and then gives you the milligrams of curcuminoids that go with that. For example, this is 350 milligrams of extract, 333 milligrams of curcuminoid. I'm not going to do math right now, but if I was guessing, that's probably close to about 97% bioavailable, somewhere in that neighborhood, which is great. I take 2 of these a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I'm old. I've had major shoulder reconstruction, hip surgery. I need surgery on my left knee, but I'm not going to get it. I've jacked up my patella tendon on my right knee. My left hip has a slap tear in it. Fortunately, that's not been bugging me too much here lately, but 2 abdominal surgeries. It's a laundry list of injuries, so this stuff helps keep me moving, so to speak. Another Zendurance product, Extreme Endurance. There are very few, well, as you can see, I got 2 pills. There are very few supplements that I've ever tried. I can only think of one other one besides this that I was like, dang, I can feel a difference. Extreme Endurance. I use this through my fight career. I've been continued to use it as a professional CrossFitter, and I gotta say, it is phenomenal. It's supposed to increase performance, endurance, and recovery. And I will say it does all of those. It's according to this, clinically proven to reduce the reduction of lactic acid, which equals less muscle soreness and improves your performance during training. Reduction of oxidative stress, which means it fights free radical damage. Reduction of creatine kinase, CK, faster muscle recovery time. increase in aerobic threshold, last longer, go harder. They've even been doing some recent tests on this using VO2 max machines and various athletes of different ages and different specialities, whether it's swimming or running or CrossFit or XYZ, and everybody across the board has shown a minimum of a 3-point gain in VO2 max. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but I promise if I told you you could breathe 3% better right now, you are like, if your number was, let's say you have a decent VO2 max, and we'll call it a 41, all right? So if I increase that by 3 points, that's a lot. That's a lot of room for improvement. That's a lot to tick the needle forward. So it helps out a lot. Stuff that I don't have out here, fish oil, I do 6,000 milligrams a day of fish oil. That gets a little pricey, I'm not gonna lie, because I buy some very expensive, very, very high grade EPA, DHA fish oil, which is, you know, it's not as good as krill oil, but I don't know, I take fish oil, it's just what I do. Again, okay, so we get done with protein shakes, right? That's immediate post-training. I usually spend about 30 minutes on the computer after that, checking emails, making sure that there's nothing paperwork related, messaging my staff, XYZ, to make sure that my business is rolling smoothly for the day. From there, we go into breakfast. Now, breakfast for me is rather large. I will eat 4 eggs, sunny side up, fried or scrambled. I will add an additional 2 to 4 egg whites to that. Then I eat some type of pork almost every day, whether it's bacon or sausage. I love bacon, I love sausage. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I just love it, that's why I eat it. But I do monitor my intake because it's not a very good, it's not a good fat. It's not a good meat, I just like the way it tastes. And then I usually will compound that with 1.5 Dave's Killer Bread bagels. Usually I get the Epic Everything ones. And I'll put 2 tablespoons of strawberry cream cheese on one of those and make a little, or on half of one of those. And then I'll make a sandwich out of the other 2 halves that I have available with my eggs and bacon. And then from there, I'll drink a Fit Aid with that. So right there, we're looking at about, we should be edging up close to 2,000 calories by about that point, 1850, 1900, somewhere around there. From there, it's to work, checking on my staff, make sure everything's going good with the kids, any type of running I need to do, yada yada. So whatever I might need to do for the afternoon, and then from there, or for the early afternoon, from there we go into our second meal, our actual eating meal of the day, which for me is almost always a big 100 bar, which is about 380 calories, 35 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbohydrates, if I remember correctly. I'm just spitballing that off the top of my head. And then I drink a smoothie almost every day. Use anywhere between 3 and 5 cups. By cups, I just mean like, you don't have to like pack it down into a measuring cup. It can be freestanding, so to speak. But about 4 cups of kale, about 6 to 8 ounces of pineapple juice, 10 grams of glutamine, and then I usually put about a cup of berries in there, some type of berry, like blueberry, blackberry, strawberry. Not a huge fan of strawberries, don't know why, just not a huge fan of them. Really love raspberries. And then that puts me up to pretty close to 2,500 calories by that point, and then drinking this before training in the afternoon or whatever. So that's about where I'm at. Now, as far as macro calories are concerned, I'm not going to talk about dinner. Everybody eats dinner. I'm not going to talk about my pre-bed snack. Everybody probably does that. But so from a macro perspective, I eat between, depending upon what type of training I did throughout the day, if it was if it was heavy training or I was moving, moderate to heavy weights for any amount of time, it's a little bit higher because we've broken the body down more, right? We've taxed that central nervous system a little bit more. So I'll eat closer to 300 grams of protein, and then right now I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. I got up to, over the summer, I think the heaviest I saw was about 204, which is the heaviest I've ever been. I was still in decent shape, but I don't like being that big, so I've dropped down to, I was 194 even on the dot this morning, but that's because I put a chalk on my carbohydrate intake. I do not go over 350 grams of carbohydrates no matter what I do. I had a workout last week, one evolution in one of my That wasn't last week, that was the week before. I had one evolution in one of my coach's workouts that took me 63 minutes to get done. That was the last workout of the day, and that was workout number 7. I was spent. I went to bed so daggone hungry that night because I had already maxed out my carbohydrate intake and I'd already maxed out my fat intake, and the only thing I could do was take another protein shake, and I was like, man, I'd rather just be hungry than eat another protein shake right now. But there's a lot of crap that goes into this. If you have any questions in specific, please feel free, again, drop that content for me. But otherwise, that's me. That's how we do. Check out Polar Bear Programming. If you buy any of this stuff, let them know in your notes section that it was because of this guy right here. And do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, and I hope you guys have a great one. Clobbering time. Later, folks.